Dave from the Redneck Garage. I'm out in the driveway doing some stuff on the Jeep today for this video. As a side note, I did get in my Schumacher SL360 Lite that Jerry talked about, and I was actually able to use it on a call the first day I got it on one of my locksmith calls. So take a look. So I got the light in, thanks Jerry, and I'm out here making a key, and I always had a hard time trying to hold a flashlight and read the key as I read it. If you watch the other video about Jeep keys, this is how I make a key to it. I'm out on a JK actually making a key for it, and I have to read both sides of the key, and I can just flip it over and I can see both sides of the key. So that is super cool. First day I got it, I get to use it. Awesome! So how cool is that, man? This thing is super versatile. It actually lives up to its billing. It is really cool, and I'm glad we bought it. It's awesome. Now today we're going to be talking about the Jeep, and I'm going to do something different. We're going to start on a little bit of painting and body work, which is really my favorite thing, rather than fixing frames. Yuck. The firewall section on the Jeep has to be painted before we put the motor in, and the motor should be done pretty soon. So we're going to be prepping and getting that ready for painting, and we're going to be looking at some of this Bedliner, which is really a pain in my butt after you see it. So let's go take a look at that. So the next thing that we need to paint and get ready and prepped and all that is this back firewall. It's got a little bit of rust on it, nothing that's coming through, but you can see surface rust that needs to be prepped. And take off a few more pieces so we can get this painted blue like the truck's going to be, because once the motor's in, that makes it much, much harder to be able to do that. And I'm picking something that I really love to do to give me a break from working on the frame and all that grimy, nasty stuff on the bottom. So that's going to be kind of my next thing, is get this back firewall painted, right? And it'll also show us the color of the paint, which is super cool. That's going to be our emphasis, to get this done quickly before the motor gets in. Okay, so I got the wiring harness pulled back out of the way. I got the plugs out. I've got a mask on the inside of those holes there on the firewall. And then just really clean the crap out of it, and we'll be ready to paint this thing. So we got the cowl off to paint underneath this lip where it goes up. I'm not going to worry about underneath here. There's a rubber gasket that goes up to the windshield, and then the rest of this is green underneath, and there's no big rust or anything. The drain was clogged up from a dirt dauber nest or something. So I got that all cleaned out. So we're going to paint up basically to this lip here. Whatever you can see before you put the cowl on is what we're going to paint. But this other part inside, you don't need to worry about that. So just continue to clean. So what you would think would be a simple process of just wet sanding was not so simple. I actually had to use some xylene on the Bedliner that some doofus had rolled on this truck, and it actually would soften it up enough where I could take a Bondo spreader and just kind of scrape it off, and then take a Scotch-Brite pad and then scrub the rest of it off to clean off that surface. It was a pain in the butt, and it took a long time to get both sides prepped down, but I don't have a lot of that to do, but I'm going to have to do it all the way back down the side of the bed because sanding just doesn't work well. So to get this Bedliner off, you can either sand it down to bare metal just about. That's what I had to do to get most of this off. Or you can use xylene, and the xylene seems to take it off fairly well without taking the paint off, the original paint. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Now thankfully I don't have a lot going back, right? Just from that rear section up to here, and then the frame, because we got new fenders, new hood. The doors were replacement doors, so they're red. They don't have Bedliner on them. Rear tailgate's new, so that's the biggest part, is just going down here and then across the back there, taking that xylene and getting this crap off. And then of course it'll have to be sanded, but so this stuff does not sand well at all. Xylene does help to get it off, and then you can start sanding once you get you know, the majority of it off. But you can see that the paint's underneath there, and hopefully hit it with a 150 DA and we'll be good to go. But that's some nasty crap, and all that's really working towards this edge so we can overspray a little bit on our blue paint and then do the body work over here after we're done with that. But everything's connected. Alright, so I got this ground down for the most part, all the loose parts off. And we're going to use Eastwood, who doesn't send me anything for free because they're too cheap. But even though I endorse their products, this is really some good stuff. So I'm going to spray all the exposed metal with the rust encapsulator, and it'll encapsulate that rust and keep it from coming back as the very bottom base coat. But man, this stuff works great. You can remember we used it on the skid plate. And because this isn't seen, you're not really too worried about, you know, the finish itself. You just don't want the rust to come back through completely. So we'll treat any of those little rust spots that are on here, which looks really good right there, right? And yeah, Randy said you're right. And then we're basically ready to, I don't know, I'm not going to prime it because then I'd have to sand it, but I'm just going to shoot it over this stuff. Awesome. Okay, that's going to be the end of today's video, to be continued. Next video is actually going to be applying the paint and how it turns out looking, so stay tuned to the Redneck Garage. Got a lot of cool videos coming up as far as like some tool reviews, the Milwaukee Impact. I'm going to be using my Sharp spray gun, which is super cool. I'm loving this weather, I tell you. So in a couple days, you'll be able to see the first paint applied to the TJ and what that's going to look like. I'm going to go on in and do some paperwork. Blah. Anyway, I'm David from the Redneck Garage. Keep turning wrenches.